We're building two of BMW's cheapest DTM cars, and they're not even M3s. These are 320i's. So off we went to Germany to find our dream spec donor cars. Now, finding these was much more difficult than we thought. So with a limited selection available, we couldn't be too picky. So after finding the perfect specimens for our little project, we ambushed our friends with a fake barbecue for some manual labor. Now, the problem with us is things tend to spiral out of control. We're no strangers to escalation, so when it came to safety, we were quite easily pursued into getting some extra safety up in these cars. So the goal was quite simple. We're gonna recreate two of the most iconic DTM cars ever made on a shoestring budget, while not abiding by all rules, but make them faster where possible. Alright, so we're gonna be installing air jacks on the car. There's no logistical reason for it. This is just because we want to. You don't need this on any car, especially not these cars. But if you're gonna do it, now is the time. Now on these cars, the original cars ran air jacks as well, and we're just gonna copy how they did it back in the day. A 3-style setup, meaning 2 in the front or 1 in the trunk, just how I like it. We're gonna do that is by installing these tubes into the chassis. These will hold the actual air jacks into the chassis, simply hook up some hoses and off you go. Now, that being said, installing these in the chassis isn't so easy because you gotta make sure they're accurate and precisely, and those are two things I'm not too good at, but we'll give it a shot. This obviously isn't meant to jack up the car, so we figured we'll reinforce it just a little bit more, make a little extra reinforcement right here, meaning all of the strength of the air jacks will be transferred into the chassis, and right behind here is the full cage. And now, for the moment supreme.
A few moments later.
Nou, pak deze als ik het niet ga gebruiken. Build two cars. It's gonna be fun. Good Why not 2? Why not 3? Why not 4? And that is pretty much it. All we gotta do now is repeat it 3 more times. Finito.
De achterkant nog.
The next day.
Now, as for the rear of the car, we're only gonna use a single air jack. So we got 2 in the front, behind each fender. And for the rear, we're gonna do a center one, just like the original DTC cars. And, well, it's just a lot easier because it's a lot less work. It's also cheaper because you only need to buy 3.
And you don't need to adjust them, right? For height.
That is also very true because once you have 3, it's always even. When you have 4, you gotta balance them out or something. I don't know. I'm not a professional. I repeat, I'm not a fabricator. And I know this is not how this works. Works for me. Okay, so I had a pretty good idea. You see, we have all these air jack mounts in the car. These ones. And why don't we just get a bunch of tube, they'll slide into there, put some dollies under it, and you'll be able to just move the car around. Okay, so we're in a paradox because this is a budget build. However, there is something that doesn't quite fit into the budget word cloud we have made so far, and that is, well, before we go into that, let me present my case, okay? So we're prepping them for paint right now. We've been sanding the interior for, I think, roughly 15 hours now. One thing we haven't finished yet is the roof. There was an insulating liner glued onto the roof panel. So far, we have tried acetone, sanding. At this point, yeah, this is the most important part. At this point, the roof is an economical write-off. Yeah?
Yeah.
At this point, and that is the hard truth, and I didn't want to acknowledge it myself, it is cheaper if you calculate the hours to put in a carbon roof.
I'll make that deal. How about you, Udovich? You make that deal?
I make that.
because, hear me out, we have done like 10 square centimeters on one car, and we've spent 3 hours so far. Either we paint over the scrappy remains of glue, whatever that is, or
5 minutes later.
it feels heavy. 83. Jesus Christ. 73. That is
10 kg's too.
Now, how much did we spend on these cars so far? Well, the cheapest thing was the cars themselves, because combined they were only 1,100 euros a piece, which isn't too bad for a 6-cylinder in the specification we were looking for. Now, by far the most expensive thing we have purchased so far is the roll cage, because the roll cage is one of the most important factors of this car, and it's not something you can change or upgrade later on. You want to get this right. We have spent 6,000 euros on the cage, and I'll be the first to admit we could have gotten a much simpler cage, but it so happened to be that we get carried away quite easily, and we were inspired by the official race cars in the later series, which has a beautiful setup towards the front end of the car. So we figured you can save on safety. So that's our reasoning. You don't have to spend as much as we did on the cage, but we thought it looks cool, it's about safety, and you know, it's a personal preference, you can spend a lot less. Now the thing we couldn't save on is the FIA certification. That is an additional 500 euros we have to pay to the FIA to get the cage certified. No certification, no races, no official events in that matter. So that is the grand total so far, but then again, you can't put a price on safety. Now, before we actually get to painting, there's one more thing I want to do to the interior. You see, I saw something online and I figured I want that too. What we're going to do is we're going to cut a hole right here in the gearbox tunnel, make a little flange, and then make a removable carbon lid on top of it. The idea behind it is making servicing easier. You can just access the gearbox bolts. If you have some sort of special gearbox, you might be able to do things easier. You know, just cover all of our bases here. So we're gonna make a little hatch right there, make a flange, be able to top it off with a carbon plate, and then we'll get to painting this. Not before we get to sanding first.
Everybody was kung fu fighting. Those kids were fast as lightning. In fact, it was a little bit frightening, but they fought with expert timing. They were funky Chinamen.
So I was making a little hatch, and for the hatch I ordered little L profiles. Obviously I didn't measure a fucking thing, because just order a couple of meters and it'll be enough. 2 meters. Wasn't enough. So then I cut a piece of L profile out of this tube. And then I had a brilliant idea. What if, instead of making 4 separate pieces, I bend them. I make a cutout and I bend them. While I was bending it, I'm like, this doesn't look right. Somebody measured this wrong. Wasn't me, obviously.
And little Sammy Chung, he said, here comes the big boss. Let's get it on. We took a bow and made a stand. Started swaying with the hand. A sudden motion made me skip. Now we're into a brand new trip. Everybody was kung fu fighting. Those kids were fast as lightning. In fact, it was a little bit frightening, but they did it with expert timing.
All right, it is now day 4 of simply removing the seam sealer. You know, the job we thought would take us half a day. But for good reason, because it will look so much nicer once it's actually painted. We're regretting it quite a bit, but I promise you it will be worth it in the end.
Many hours later.
Welcome to the paint shop. We figured we'll have some quotes, we'll ask around, see who wants to paint these cars. The thing is, the prices are quite reasonable until you mention the word roll cage. Then it just turns into triple or quadruple the original price. Because for some reason, painters do not want to paint interiors with roll cages. They say it is one of the worst jobs you can possibly do. So we figured we might as well do it ourselves. Learn a thing or two and, and get some proper painted race cars. It really couldn't be that difficult. Welcome to our DIY spray booth. So we've made a nice little Breaking Bad style cubicle. On one hand here we have air getting sucked out, as you should have with a paint booth. I won't explain what that is for. And then here we have a rim, which is a new air inlet, because on the other side is a filter. So that is our paint system booth thingy. So all we gotta do now is mix up some paint or the primer, because we're gonna spray on a epoxy primer thing, which we had to grab last minute because someone told us that the stuff we've bought was gonna end up in a disaster. So last minute we had to drive like 2 hours to get this shit, but we got it. Now we're just figuring out what ratio to mix it in, because if you haven't noticed, I'm not a painter. Neither is Cho. Neither do we have any experience with any of this. So for all of you actual painters out there, I'm terribly sorry. I probably shouldn't mention where we got this gun from.
老天保佑，金山银山全都有。老天教唆。
Never give a damn about my reputation. Never said I wanted to improve my station. I'm only doing good while I'm having fun, and I don't ever need no one. And I don't give a damn about my bad reputation. Oh no, not me. Wow.
This is me ordering a new spray gun. Not on AliExpress this time.
The next day.
Later we have our new spray gun, and as a matter of fact, there was nothing wrong with our AliExpress version. It just didn't have the right nozzle tip, which this one has. So, in theory, we should be good now.
I don't give a damn about my reputation. I've never been afraid of any deviation. And I don't really care if I'm strange. I ain't gonna change. And I'm never gonna care about my bad reputation. Wow, no, not me. Wow, no, not me. Hello, boys.
So
I was lit up.
4, maybe 2, 1.5. But it's looking pretty good so far. Although I underestimated it quite a bit. And it took us like twice as much paint than we anticipated. So Jesse's car is going to be a little bit...
We grabbed another paint because we didn't trust that one. So we bought enough paint for the two of us, we thought. So Cho's used all of that paint,
I used all the good paint.
and now I'm gonna have to use one we thought wasn't right. Could be that bad.
Good luck with that, pal. So let's get this out the door. Jesse's car in the door. Don't look... No.
I'm picking the right.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Next one.
Off top, nigga, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. Damn. And bitch, don't check me, bitch. Check the air quality. Numbers. Yeah. Dysons and shit. You know what I'm saying? $500 fans and shit. You know what I'm saying? That shit's something slight though, you know what I mean? Run that. I was born in 91. Product of the dope game. 50s, Camaros, cuts when we swing. Crack game. You don't even know the half. The stress. Living life so fast. I'm dreaming. 91, 91, 91, 91, 91. I'm dreaming. 91, 91, 91, 91. Have you ever been so fly? Bitches see and wanna come and choose on a P. Bitch, I feel like I'm dreaming. Feel like I'm dreaming. Feel like I'm dreaming. Bitch, I feel like I'm dreaming. Feel like I'm dreaming. Feel like I'm dreaming. 91.
Okay, so it is now the next day. Everything is dry. I gotta say I'm pretty pleased with how it turned out. But then again, this is the easy part. This is just applying the primer, and there's a lot of room for error. But now comes the difficult part, actually painting it in color. Okay, so the plan now is simply take out the car, remove all the masking, give it a light scuffing so the base coat will etch onto the primer layer, and then we'll say a little prayer, mix up the base coat in clear coat. The roll cage is by far the most difficult part. We spent about an hour trying to get the roll cage done, and then the rest of the car is just a breeze. But it takes so much time that we have purchased a very special slow hardener for clear coat, and according to the guy sending it to us, we will get runners for sure, but I'd rather have a couple of runners in the paint than a light misting of fading paint all over the interior. So in a couple of hours these cars will be painted.
You sure about that?
All right, so it's an entire 8 hours later after just quickly sanding the car. So far we've sanded it, we've masked it all up again, we have cleaned it, prepped it as best as we can, and now is the moment of truth. We're gonna start painting the car, and it's pretty nerve-wracking because once we start, there's no going back. You have to keep going, you have to apply the entire base coat and continue with the clear coat. If you just do the base coat, you're gonna have to scratch it all off again or recuff it and apply another base coat. So you have to do it all in one go. Which, to be honest, is pretty nerve-wracking, but I reckon we got this. Right? We got this.
I walk along the avenue. I never thought I'd meet a girl like you. Meet a girl like you. With auburn hair and tawny eyes. The kind of eyes that hypnotize me through. You hypnotize me through. And I ran so far away. I just ran all night and day. I couldn't get away. A cloud appears above your head. A beam of light comes shining down on you. Shining down on you. The cloud is moving nearer still. Aurora borealis comes in the earth.
It is now 9:40. We started at 7. Just shy of 8, 9. Just shy of 3 hours. It's getting difficult to. Yeah, so there was that much clear coat that before was starting to release on me. So I was like, but the clear coat saved our asses because we opted for a very, very slow clear coat, and everyone was saying don't do it because you'll get runs and whatever. But apparently, or so it seems that this has been the most forgiving clear coat so far, and out of all the clear coats I've ever tried, which is one. But compared to the base coat, it was really runny. Not that I have any runs, but so I've heard. But the clear coat didn't have any runs whatsoever. It just was really forgiving, and let's see how it dries up. Maybe the fumes have gone to me, and maybe I'm more enthusiastic about it than I should be. We'll see in the morning. All right, so it didn't exactly take 1 weekend or 2 weekends. As a matter of fact, we actually finished on the day we said we would finish, the first of the month, which is not that very specific month that we were aiming for. But I couldn't be happier with the outcome. It's looking absolutely fantastic, even though the painting itself was an absolute nightmare, and I wouldn't wish it on my worst painter. I'm quite pleased with how we did, because everyone kept telling us, don't do it, don't paint your cage yourself, it will be a nightmare. And it was a nightmare, but it was a nightmare with a happy ending. Now, as you've seen, we just put it on the lift because before we actually get to the fun part, which is the air jacks, we figured we might as well get over with all the crappy jobs now that we still can. One of them being removing the subframe, cleaning the underside, and cheating a little bit by not doing a full restoration like Red Dog's doing, but instead we'll just simply rattle can it white. I mean, it is a race car, it'll be inside most of the time, it won't see much rain. So I figured it's gonna be a 2-hour job.
Another one. Another one.
Give it to me.
Now, even though that little 2-hour job turned out to be 2 days, wrenching on the bottom of the car is just so much nicer when it's not a 20-year-old shitbox. So with that out of the way, we can actually finally, for real this time, no more side quests, install the air jacks. Now for the air jacks, 3 per car as you've probably seen, we're going to be using a combination of hardline and some softer lines because you can just run hardline everywhere, but we're going to try to do it a little bit nicer. But we've even went as far, well I didn't, Cho did, I sat back Cho to doing so, into designing these little brackets to hold the hardline. The bolt goes right through them, so you won't see it, and then use a riv nut to mount it to the chassis. So it is completely invisible, not invincible, because we've tried. Invisible mounting solution, just to make it look as artistic as possible. All that's left to do now, oh, and talk about artistic stuff. There's one ingredient here that is still missing. Some of you might recognize what that is, but you'll find out right at the end of this, after we've done all the boring stuff. Then we can get to some real artistic stuff. And the plan is quite simple. Run them through here. And then we're gonna use a bulkhead fitting with a little flex line. So from the air jack, the flex line, bulkhead fitting, go into the chassis, bunch of crap inside there, and basically do the same on the rear, use some bulkhead fittings, make it look nice, make it look overkill. There's never going to be a time where we actually need air jacks. It's a bit too late to reconsider that, However, for style points, crucial. I'm aware it does sound like the Titanic is sinking, but that is just from doing it slowly. Now, if we just close the valve again and remove this, as you can hear, there are no hissing sounds, which means we've sealed it relatively tight. And now the entire car will just stay up on its feet for a duration depending on how well we've sealed everything. And now the beauty of this thing is we can release it slowly or do it all at once. And that is the eject system. Yeah. Now you might be wondering where this is going to end up, and that is a discussion we had a long thought about, because most race cars, they have it on the rear, right where the license plate is going to be. Now seeing as this is not a race car, we got to have license plates. So that is out of the question. Now the other option is to do it off-center, which looks awful. And then there's an option of doing it right here where the fuel system used to be in a race car. But as we're trying to keep this budget is a relative word, we're reusing the original fuel system with minor adjustments, meaning that's also out of the option. So we figured we're gonna do something that I haven't personally seen on any older cars. So we figured, what if we made the attachment in a door? Not just in a door, but if we have the rear quarter window, let me show you. So if you look at this disgusting door, must be chose. We figured we're gonna keep the rear window itself, but what if we delete this part, make it out of carbon, and then have a little recess for the eject point. So this is what 400 hours of Fusion 360 looks like. So we figured we'll just simply remake the exact original shape of the rear window. So whatever carbon part we make will fit right back into the door in the original shape. So that is where this lands, bolts up onto, and once the air goes into the system, the car goes up, and then when you quickly disconnect it again, it remains sealed. So the car stays up on its air, depending on how well we've sealed everything. Now, and then simply release the button to drop the car, either by pulling it fast or doing it slowly. But yeah, this is the final design. This is what we're gonna be making. It didn't just sprung into life. We took a few prototypes. But I gotta say, it's looking really fancy, especially once it's finished in a matte carbon look. And because we're gonna be reusing the steel doors, no carbon stuff. Body wise, body panel wise, for the most part. This was supposed to be the mold, which was supposed to be done 2 months ago. Which was Look, we have ran into some issues. The issues being that it sometimes takes us a couple of attempts before it works. So I'm not quite sure how to go about this. Yeah. Look how thick this is. For some reason, yeah, and this is just a guess, we have fucked up the mixing. Okay, so I made an executive decision. Normally we really want to get things done in the same episode. However, since we're already pumping out episodes so fast you can barely keep up with us, we figured might as well do it next week.
So it's in next week's video.
Yeah, we'll just put it in next week's video. You know how we are. No, the thing is, like, we wouldn't be able to use the air jacks right away because it doesn't have wheels and suspension. And what's cooler than to see the air jacks firsthand with working suspension, just drop in the car, you know, the cool action shots. So we're gonna tackle this in the next episode, and I promise you, next to this, we'll have a lot more escalation to worry about. That's a guarantee, because we're pretty good at that. So, how much did we spend so far? Well, the good news, less than previous episodes, so we're on the right track here. You see, we've only done 2 things, even though it took us 3 months. So, when it comes to the paint, we have spent a total of 800 euros, which comes down to just 400 euros per car. And that includes everything from sanding paper to paint to clear coat, mixing materials, even the paint booth we built ourselves. Which is a good thing because we saved quite a lot of money, and we're gonna need that to justify the thing that's coming up next, because for the air jacks we have spent 2,450 euros. But for a good reason, because air jacks tie directly into the safety component. If I were to get stuck underneath the car, you could quickly ramp up the car again. So it really comes down to a matter of or perspective of safety in this case. But like the thing you gotta focus on most is how we spent less than the previous episode. So it's a win in my book. So the total comes down to 10,450 euros. We'll give ourselves some time to reflect on our choices. All right, and on that note, thank you very much for watching. But before you go, we got something really, really exciting for next time.
Mas Henry está-se a defender.